погуляли. На сегодня хватит.
Все, поехали.
Поехали.
The United States was angry when Ukrainian forces sank the Russian warship Moskva in April 2022 because the Ukrainians hadn't given so much as a heads up, according to a report by the New York Times. The newspaper published a detailed story revealing that the U.S. was more deeply involved in Ukraine's war effort than previously known. According to the report, American military officials worked closely with Ukraine from a command center in Wiesbaden, Germany. There, U.S. and Ukrainian officers planned military strategies, counteroffensives, and shared intelligence on Russian targets. The key figures in this coordination were Ukrainian General Mikhailo Zabrodsky and U.S. General Christopher Donahue. One of the key military operations discussed in the report was the sinking of the Moskva in the Black Sea. According to a senior U.S. military official, American and Ukrainian naval officers were in a routine intelligence sharing session when an unexpected signal appeared on radar. The Americans identified the object as the Moskva, to which the Ukrainians responded with surprise and immediately launched an attack. The Americans go, "Oh, that's the Moskva." The Ukrainians go, "Oh my God, thanks a lot. Bye." There was anger among Americans that Ukraine gave no heads up before striking the ship. There was also a surprise to learn that Ukraine had missiles capable of hitting such a significant Russian target. The flagship Moskva was hit with 2 home-produced Neptune missiles. There was also panic. The Biden administration had not intended to allow Ukraine to attack a major symbol of Russian power. The New York Times report is based on more than 300 interviews conducted over a year with officials from Ukraine, the US, the UK, Germany, Poland, Belgium, the Baltic states, and Turkey. A European intelligence official quoted in the report said he was surprised by how deeply NATO allies were involved in Ukraine's military operations. "They are part of the kill chain now," he told the New York Times. The missile cruiser Moskva suffered a precise strike from Ukrainian Neptune missiles on April 13, 2022, leading to its sinking the following day. Although the exact number of individuals on board at the time of the attack remains undisclosed by Russia, up to 500 people could have been present there. Kremlin acknowledged only 17 fatalities, attributing it to a combination of ammunition detonation, fire, and subsequent flooding during adverse weather conditions. It was both a great military loss for the Russians and a blow to their confidence. After the sinking of the Moskva, the Russian fleet moved far from Ukrainian shores. Notably, this incident stands as Russia's most expensive single military loss in the ongoing war with Ukraine, with the estimated value of the ship at the time of its destruction reaching approximately $750 million, as reported by Forbes. For Ukraine, in turn, it was a matter of honor, because this ship took part in the storming of Zmyny Island on February 24, 2022, and a Ukrainian soldier addressed it on the radio with the famous words, "Russian warship, go fuck yourself." It is quite symbolic that the cruiser, built in the Ukrainian city of Mykolaiv, was used by the Russians in attacks against Ukrainians and was destroyed by Ukrainian missiles. Russian liberators continue to loot the homes of peaceful Ukrainians in the occupied territories. Bastards.
Говорит, поехали в Авдеевку. Говорю, поехали. Короче, я в Авдеевке.
We killed our own vehicle industry. All the screwdriver assembly has collapsed in the last 2 years. Russia has completely switched to importing Chinese cars. Russian Z-bloggers complain that Russia has ruined its automobile industry with its own hands, which China took advantage of in a difficult moment for Russia.
Since the 2000s, assembly workshops and factories began to be built. At least they set this up because Chevrolets were assembled there, Volkswagens and so on. In Russia, Over the last 2 years, this has completely collapsed. Russia completely, if we talk about cars of foreign production, completely shifted to importing Chinese cars, nearly 1 million units. We ourselves have killed our automotive industry, which could have been developed. The same Viaz, for example, which is showing something there, they have 60 billion. Well, a budget deficit of 60 billion. And China's stance here is wrong. That is, they fully took advantage of the situation, difficult for Russia, not only in the automotive industry, but also in the supply of other various parts and so on. And accordingly, they put pressure on Russia regarding the price. Moreover, they are complying with American sanctions. On the other hand, apparently, well, their intelligence is working. They understand that Russia is aligning with the Americans. And therefore, there is no point in supporting the Russians.
After releasing a threat through NBC to Putin, President Trump now is backing down. You're talking about Putin. I don't think he's going to go back on his word. I've known him for a long time.
You're talking about Putin. I don't think he's going to go back on his word. I've known him for a long time. We've always gotten along well, despite the Russia hoax. It's a hoax created by Clinton and Schiff and all of these lunatics. And I certainly wouldn't want to put secondary tariffs on Russia, but if they were put on, it would not be very good for them.
The Dutch Minister of Defense, during his visit to Kyiv, announced support for the drone line presidential project. Ruben Brekelmans, the Dutch Minister of Defense, started this on his page on Twitter. He wrote that as part of the Netherlands' support for Ukraine, the country would allocate 500 million euros, which would be directed towards the drone line project and would help Ukraine ensure a stable supply of drones of various types. Crucial is our 500 million euros for the drone line. Drones Ukraine urgently needs to stop Russia at the front line, the minister wrote on his X account. It should be noted that the Netherlands has been providing active support to Ukraine both financially and through the transfer of weapons since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion. The country is currently actively participating in the drone coalition, and the total investments in the development of drones, their procurement, and the deployment of production for Ukraine have exceeded 1 billion euros. In addition, in early March 2025, the Netherlands announced the allocation of 700 million euros for the development of drone production. The aim of the drone line project is to enhance the combat capabilities of the top unmanned systems units of the armed forces of Ukraine, giving them a strategic edge on the battlefield through advanced technological solutions. The project launched on March 3, 2025, on the initiative of the President of Ukraine, and is coordinated by the Ministry of Defense, the Ground Forces, the State Border Guard Service, and the Ministry of Digital Transformation. Its main objectives include creating a strike zone 10 to 15 kilometers deep from the front line, which will complicate the enemy's advance without significant losses. Meanwhile, the units will receive modern equipment, drones, EW systems, transport, and other necessary gear. As part of the support for this project, the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine, on the initiative of the Ministry of Defense and with the support of the Ministry of Finance, allocated 4.6 billion Ukrainian hryvnias from the 2025 budget.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.